Am I the asshole for uninviting my family from my wedding because they want me to share it with my sister? To preface this, we only got engaged about 10 weeks ago and have plans for November 2021, but if there's still issues at the time we'll postpone. My sister, Rosie, and I have always had a complex relationship, but my bigger problem is her fiancé, Mick, who I detest with my entire being. Mick is like a caricature of the phrase, toxic masculinity. One time my daughter, age 7, painted my son, age 5, and my fiancé's nails, and Mick called my son and fiancé, sissies, because they had nail polish on. He's also hit on me in the past and slut-shamed me. So yeah, hate him. Fiancé also hates him. My parents wanted to invite all about 40 people to our wedding. Our guest list only 20 guests, so the agreement we came to was they pay for 2/3 RDS of the wedding as they had 2/3 RDS of the guests. So far all we have arranged is a venue, and it's a good thing we did, too, because there's only 3 venues in the area and November 2021 was the earliest date any of them had available. Rosie and Mick got engaged last week. Rosie has looked for venues and the first available date is April 2022. Mum and Dad told us today that we will now be having a double wedding. Everyone involved is aware of the issues we have with Mick. We refused to share the wedding. My parents then they were paying for 2/3 RDS of it so they should have final say. I responded that they don't get a say on who is getting married. They said I was being immature and should learn to share the spotlight, and I said that my issue was seeing Mick standing next to my fiancé at the altar. My parents tried to, young lady, I'm nearly 28, saying that Rosie can't get anything in the next 18 months and it wasn't fair to make her wait that long. Plus if they're paying for well over half the wedding and won't be interfering on anything else, we should allow this. I then said that we would pay for the entire wedding ourselves, and go back to our original guest list minus my parents, Mick and Rosie, then hung up. I definitely just snapped in the moment, but the idea of sharing my wedding with Mick gives me a visceral negative reaction. Since hanging up my fiancé says that he's fine with this development, though he wasn't expecting it, but he supports me. However, my parents and sister feel I overreacted and called me an ass for uninviting them over them having one thing they wanted at the wedding they're paying for. I felt pretty confident in my choice but then my brother, who hates Mick as much as we do, said I needed to calm the fuck down and that the logical response here would have been to return my parents' money and remove their guests, not to uninvite my parents from my wedding entirely, and said unless I fix it, I'd be going full bridezilla. Am I the asshole? Edit, to be clear, I am 100% returning the money. The idea of the money was that we add my parents' guests, which is no longer happening, so I'll be returning their money.
NT not the asshole for the official ruling. They told you, a grown-ass woman, that you have to share a wedding. Hell no. I agree with you declining their money and their guests. Good for you for standing up to them. Not the asshole, sure it was a knee-jerk reaction, I agree with your brother, but you have plenty of time to make amends if that's what you want. I'd elope, tbh.
Not the asshole but your brother was right. Would have made more sense and caused less damage if you'd rejected the money and extra guests but let them attend. That said, it's pretty clear you were in a tense situation and didn't really have time to think it out. They were being incredibly unreasonable and I wouldn't give in on the question of who is getting married. I might give way on the uninviting, but I'd do it in a private conversation that doesn't include your sister so they can't gang up on you, and I'd preface it by saying that you aren't budging on the main issue.
Not the asshole. This is your wedding. You might want to downsize it so you can hand your parents their money back and say F you. Your sister can wait a year or pick a different venue. Or organize a reception in your backyard if you have one. Your parents are incredibly entitled here as is your sister.
Not the asshole. Even if you like them, being told to share your wedding is pretty atrocious. Add in the fact that you don't get along, and it's a recipe for disaster. We waited 3 years for our wedding due to scheduling issues, and it turned out to be a fantastic idea, waiting that long, because we were able to have the most us wedding possible and didn't feel stressed at all. I guess my point there being that if it's something you're doing for forever, waiting a year or two doesn't seem so terrible as to take over someone else's wedding. Is there a possibility of an outdoor location or something they might use? Not the asshole. It's actually frankly irrelevant that you despise Mick. Why would parents force their daughters to share a wedding? Even on the surface that's preposterous. Mick Jagoff just makes it worse. Just because they're paying 2/3 of the cost they get to dictate such an outrageous request. A 20-person wedding can't be that expensive, tell them to take their contribution and shove it.
Not the asshole, they already had 40, just one things, at your wedding. I don't have an issue with my sister and brother-in-laws or my other brothers and sisters-in-laws, but I still would never share a wedding date. Not the asshole. Whilst I think your brother's compromise seems reasonable. Let them stew for a bit first, and you defs did the right thing in showing your teeth. Would you need to worry about your sister and fiancé turning up last minute to your wedding in wedding attire and forcing a double wedding with parents' blessing? If so, keep 'em all off the guest list.
Not the asshole here. Your parents' demands were unreasonable, obviously, but frankly your brother's compromise seems fairly fair, if you want to keep the peace and have your parents in attendance. If you don't care and having you parents not present isn't a deal-breaker, then screw them. Your wedding, your day, your rules.
I felt pretty confident in my choice, but then my brother, who hates Mick as much as we do, said I needed to calm the fuck down and that the logical response here would have been to return my parents' money and remove their guests, not to uninvite my parents from my wedding entirely, and said unless I fix it, I'd be going full bridezilla. Not the asshole and not the bridezilla. Your brother, you sis, her fiancé and your parents are all tush here. Not the asshole. It's ridiculous. Your parents choosing 2/3 of the guests is also ridiculous. How was it even going to be your day if it's mostly their friends, not yours? You should revert to what you wanted originally and cut them out of decisions. They can attend as guests. Not the asshole reading your post made me feel sick. Demanding that you have a double wedding? Are you kidding me? It wouldn't matter if you and your sis were best friends. Forcing that arrangement on your wedding day is insane. Share the spotlight? No. I think your parents were mostly excited by the prospect of saving a whole bunch of money. Shame on them. I do think that uninviting them is a bit much, but you'll have to see how things shake out between now and then. Absolutely don't share your wedding day, though.
Not the asshole. The whole point of a wedding is that it's the one day that gets to be 1000% about the couple getting married. Meanwhile your parents throwing in the whole, we're paying 2/3 of the cost, and only asking for one thing, is absolutely absurd. The one thing that they're wanting is to completely destroy the wedding. Meanwhile your reaction disinvite them is very reasonable. They were paying 2/3 of the cost because they were responsible for 2/3 of the guest list. Since your refusal to give in to their demands revokes their willingness to pay, it's only logical that you ditch the 2/3 of the cost. Stick to your guns, and have the small solo wedding of your dreams.
Not the asshole. Pay for your own wedding. If you calm down enough to re-invite your parents, do so. But you would be justified in not inviting your sister's fiancé. If your sister refuses to attend without him, tell her you will send her pictures. Not the asshole. I can see your brother's point, but at the same time, he might not understand what a terrible thing this is to do a daughter and the emotional reaction it could cause. Your parents gave you a gift. Now you can give them their money and their guest list back and not risk any future interference. Although don't be surprised if they don't fund some lavish wedding for your sister. And if your parents' name is on any contracts, get them taken off immediately, so that they don't hijack things for her. Not the asshole. It's your wedding and your parents overstepped in demanding that your sister horn in. There are always other places to get married.
Not the asshole, your parents sound like bridezillas and I never would have accepted their money in the first place, TBH.
NTA, I think go with your brother's choice. Not the asshole, fuck Mick, that guy sounds like a tool. But yeah, maybe listen to your brother and re-invite your family.
Not the asshole, but you should still invite them to your wedding, but remind them it is your wedding and they are just guests, and if they act out of line will be kicked out. Not the asshole. Weddings are so very stressful. Your sister not having a venue is not your problem. The day you have is yours. Even without Mick being an asshat, this should still be the answer. No. Your brother's idea is not a bad one. It is up to you if you want to go that route or stick to your guns. Personally, I would stick to my guns in your situation and cut down the guest list.
Not the asshole. Number 1, it's your day. And neither of you should have to share it. That's so weird and uncomfortable even if you didn't have issues with your sister's fiancé. Also, it isn't about your parents. Fuck their guests. Lol. It seems you already remedied everything, so not the asshole. Your initial reaction was justified too. This is about you and your fiancé. Nobody else. Emo. 2. Why do parents push to get married so fucking fast? I'm gay and I told my mom about the US justices that talked shit about gay marriage being legalized. My partner and I have been together for 2 years but not engaged and no real plans of even getting married, not that I don't think we will, just not talked about, and her response was, get married now. JFC. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. They can do whatever they want, but your big day is about you, not your sister, and not Mick the jackass. If your sister has to wait until 2022, so be it. Mick is just trying to outshine you. Unless the brides and grooms are very close, double weddings rarely ever work. Your parents are just being cheap, and even if they come around, don't let other people, even your parents, invite guests to your wedding. It's not a family reunion for your parents, it's your wedding. Have only people you'll actually know and like there. Quite frankly, I doubt that Sis and Mike the D#C will make it to the altar.
Not the asshole. Why can't Rosie wait till April 2022?
Not the asshole. This is why it is hard to take money from family meant as a gift. It rarely comes without strings. I'd just give your sister your November 2021 date and take her April 2022, as that gives you and your fiancé time to save and pay for the wedding yourselves. Just a suggestion. I know this is a tough situation and I hope the best for you and your fiancé. I get where your brother is coming from, but I completely agree with your handling. Your parents informed you very clearly of their intention to be toxic and you removed the "then we aren't coming to your wedding" card that they would have played at the disinvitation of your sister and future Bill. If you reinvite them, it's only after they clearly had all of their clout stripped. Well played, and not the asshole.
NTA. You actually underreacted in my opinion. There would been a lot more choice words and it wouldn't just be removed from the wedding. I'd go no contact for life with all of them.
Not the asshole. But your brother is right. I'd suggest offering them this compromise. But, you are absolutely not wrong to say no to their demands. It may only be one thing, but it's a pretty huge thing, and you can guarantee if your sister got her way on this, she'd get everything else her way too, because your parents are paying the majority, and 3 obviously prioritize her over your.
Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. I tend to agree with your brother, but it depends on what your general relationship with your parents is. If overall you're close, then having them there would probably make you happier and them happy. You might regret not having them there. If your relationship isn't good, then they'd need to apologize for insulting you and trying to strong-arm you, and promise to behave before I'd consider changing my mind. I'd absolutely stick with the smaller wedding you pay for so that they can't try to strong-arm you again.
NTA. Any money your parents gave, give back. Tell them they can come, but no guests, and no double wedding. Your sister can wait just like you are to get married to her jerk fiancé. You would be a a-hole to keep your parents' money, without having their guests there.
We are going to need an update. Thank you.
Not the asshole? Why would anyone regardless of circumstances share a wedding, which is by definition a union of 2 people? Info. Why is it unfair to your sister, and Mick, to wait 18 months? Do your parents not expect them to be still together by then unless they get married? Nope. Your parents are not unaware of your issues with Mick, yes? So the fact they want you to share the wedding is pretty inconsiderate, and the entitled attitudes speak volumes. You can't do anything about the bridezilla opinions, but the only right answer is to keep them uninvited and also knock anyone who pressures you about it off the list. This is super selfish, and if they're willing to pull this shit over paying for the wedding, they'll almost definitely find a way to make the whole thing more unpleasant for you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You shouldn't have to share your wedding day if you don't want to, and especially not with someone you don't particularly like. That being said, uninviting your parents is a bit extreme.
Not the asshole. Why should you have to blooming share your wedding with your sister? That's absolutely ridiculous. Why do I get the feeling though that if it was the other way around and it was her sister's wedding they were originally paying, they wouldn't have suggested a double wedding and told you to wait. They are the assholes for insisting you have a double wedding. A truly crazy move. But that doesn't mean you won't regret uninviting them. IDK. Are they illogical and abusive in general, to the degree that you are ready to cut ties? Or do you want to keep the door open for a reconciliation?
My dog is named Mick, and he's just an excellent boy. I hope that helps in not ruining the good name of Mix everywhere for you lol. My first wedding was railroaded by my in-laws. My second marriage was totally planned and paid for without parental involvement. So much better.
I would have said no to. Regardless if I hated her fiancé or not. It's your wedding day and if you don't want to share it you don't have to share it. You're not 5 and it's not a toy we're talking about. It's a huge life event. Not the asshole but your mom, dad, sister, Mick and brother sound like one.
Not the asshole your parents are the biggest Oz here. My parents paid 100% of my wedding and only requested that I invited my dad's boss. Dad was CFO, his boss is owner and CEO, and dad was invited to all CEO's kids' weddings. Everyone else was up to me and my husband. Why is it a thing for parents to invite people though? I'm so confused. Why would anyone want to go to their friend's kid's wedding? Also not the asshole. This whole thing is bizarre to me. Not the asshole, but now you know. So no matter what they offer, pay for the wedding yourselves even if it's a cake from Costco and flowers from your neighbor's yard. Mick sounds like a nightmare. And I will guess that you will patch things up with your parents, but pay for the wedding yourself, no matter what. Anybody who tries, young lady, my house, my rules, on a 28-year-old woman will try it again if they can.
Your parents probably just wanted to save money and invite their friends to both of their daughters' weddings without coming off as cheap, tacky. Killing two birds with one stone kind of thing. Also, there is no way they wouldn't have interfered with anything else. That's how it starts. The guest list, then it's the booze, food, etc. You and your fiancé should have the wedding you both want. Not the asshole.
I'm sorry, what? Firstly, I just have to say this. This douche hit you and your sister is still with him? That's fucked up. I'm sorry. Secondly, fuck that sort of toxic parental attitude of, we're paying for this so that means we can control it. I'll send you money even so you don't have to deal with those pricks. Not the asshole. Hope your wedding is beautiful and exactly what you want. You deserve happiness.
However, my parents and sister feel I overreacted and called me an ass for uninviting them over them having one thing they wanted at the wedding they're paying for. This is the funniest shit I have ever read. It's just one small thing. I can't believe you are being so stubborn about this. They are paying, and they decided it should be someone else's wedding. You can still choose the flowers though. Absolutely not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Your family knows why you hate Mick and they are still okay with him going to be part of the family. Your whole family is something else. Not the asshole. This guy is a divorce waiting to happen for Op's sister and I'm trying to push him on you is the immature part. One can almost believe if Op were to say her sister's fiancé had the idea to conjoin the wedding.